From Kern Government Television, welcome to this week's Kern County Board of Supervisors meeting, originating from the County Administrative Center located at 1115 Truxtun Avenue, Bakersfield, California. Kern County's vision is to create and maintain a customer-centered county government designed to garner the confidence, support, and trust of the people we serve. Today's Kern County Board of Supervisors meeting will convene momentarily.
As I did.
Board to reconvene. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Supervisor Gleason.
Here.
Supervisor Scribner.
Here.
Supervisor Maggard. Here. Supervisor Couch.
Here.
Supervisor Perez. Here.
County Council, reports taken on a closed session, please.
Good afternoon, Chairman Gleason and members of the board. This afternoon, your board heard items 56, 57, 59, 61, and 62. Other than item number 61, no reportable action was taken, and I'll report on item number 61 in a moment. Item number 60 was not heard by your board. It was withdrawn by me, and item number 58 was also not heard by your board. It was withdrawn by me. Those will be reset for another date when there's more time to discuss them. With respect to item number 61, this is a case involving the matter of Jane Doe versus County of Kern. This is United States District Court, case number 1-13CV02056, AWI-JLT. In this case, on July 6, 2015, the County of Kern, the plaintiff and the plaintiff's attorneys participated in a confidential mediation pursuant to the California Evidence Code and the Federal Rules of Evidence, and signed a confidentiality agreement which is routine in such types of proceedings. At the conclusion of that mediation, the parties reached a tentative $1 million settlement, which was memorialized in a memorandum of settlement signed by the parties and their attorneys, including the plaintiff's attorneys. That document provided in part that the settlement will not be publicly disclosed by any party unless required by statute, and those words are very important, unless required by statute. It further provided that neither the plaintiff nor her attorneys will hold a press conference regarding the case. The language prohibiting disclosure unless required by statute was specifically included by the county's attorneys to ensure that the county would be in a position to fully disclose the settlement agreement to the public without violating the Public Records Act. Instead of complying with the confidentiality agreement and the memorandum of settlement, unfortunately, the plaintiff's attorneys in this case immediately issued a press release, contacted various media outlets, conducted numerous interviews, all in violation of the confidentiality agreement and the settlement agreement. Notwithstanding the plaintiff's attorneys' flagrant violations and breach of the parties' settlement agreement and the confidentiality agreement, by a 5-0 vote, your board determined that the settlement remains in the best interest of the Kern County taxpayers and has consequently authorized County Council to move forward with the settlement. Accordingly, pursuant to that unanimous vote, your board authorized County Council to proceed with the settlement, prepare a written settlement agreement as reflected in the parties' written memorandum of settlement. And that concludes my report on this matter. There may be other administrative proceedings related to the conduct of the plaintiff's attorney. That will be something that will be dealt with by the State Bar of California. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Madam Council. We'll begin with the consent agenda. You can find agendas in the back of the room on those tables back there to help you follow along with what we're doing. All items listed with a CA above the item number are considered to be routine and non-controversial by county staff. Consent items will be considered first and may be approved by one motion if no member of the board or audience wishes to comment or ask questions. Comment or discussion is desired by anyone. The item will be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered in listed sequence with an opportunity for any member of the public to address the board concerning the item before action is taken. So, going through the items, consent items on here under hearings, Planning and Community Development Department. There's numbers 4, Planning and Community Development Department, is number 5, 6, 7. Public Works Department, Building and Development is 9, 10, 11, 12. Under Operations and Maintenance is 13 through 23. Under County Administrative Office is items 25 through 30. And under General Services, 31 through 36. Matters for executive approval, items 37 through 41. Is there any member of the public that'd like to pull anything off the consent agenda? Okay, I recognize Mr. Fox is wanting to pull item number 30 off the consent agenda. Thank you, Mr. Fox. Anyone else? Thank you. Any member of the board? Looking for a vote.
Motion on consent.
Please cast your votes.
Motion is approved, all ayes.
Brings us to item number 1, proclaim May 24th, 2016 as Volunteer Hostess Day in Kern County. Supervisor Couch.
Motion on the proclamation.
Second.
Cast your votes.
Motion is approved, all ayes.
Yes, I am, sir. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I have a presentation I'd like to make, and I know you all join me in the sentiments behind this. And then I'm going to turn it over to, I'm going to present it to Barbara Goodloe and allow her to say a few words. You know, Kern County volunteers choose to devote their time because they see a need and they just want to help. And they do so without concern for pay or for recognition. They're very loyal, they're hardworking, and we would not be able to provide the additional services to assist the public that they provide if it were not for them. Today, we mark the 24th anniversary of the Volunteer Hostess Program. So since 1992, retired employees of Kern County have been providing a service to the visitors here at the the County Administrative Center. They've got firsthand knowledge of local government, and these volunteers have provided an estimated 26,000 man-hours over the past 20 plus years. And they've assisted more than on about an average of 15,000 visitors every year. So this is just our way of saying thank you for that. General Services sponsored a luncheon this afternoon. The chairman was wanting to know where the food came from because we had a bit of it too, and it was frankly delicious. I'd like to show the board's appreciation by presenting the certificate and proclaiming May 24th as Volunteer and Host and Hostess Day. Please join me in commending the retired employees of Kern County for their service to Kern County. I'd like to read the proclamation and present it to Barbara. Proclamation reads, the Board of Supervisors of the County of Kern, State of California has officially proclaimed May 24th as Volunteer Hostess Day in Kern County, and this recognition has been entered into the official board minutes signed by the Honorable Chair Mick Gleason, dated today. Barbara, would you like to say a few words? Thank you for all you do for us, by the way.
And thank you. And thank you for that lovely luncheon. The volunteers really appreciate it. And we do have some wonderful volunteers that volunteer every month, and they're happy to do so. And when they can't be there, I've always cover for them. So I really thank you, and the volunteers thank you. And my thanks go out to Mary Lou Bennett, who couldn't be here, and, what's her name? And Graham. They all both assist me and help me very much to keep this job going. And thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thanks, Barbara.
Thank you.
We couldn't do it without you, Barbara. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Brings us to item number 8, request for determination of public convenience for issuance of an off-sale beer and wine package store type 20 liquor license located at 12816 Main Street, Lamont. Oh, did I do public? Did I miss something? Oh, hold on for a second. Hold on for a second.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll
I
wait.
jumped the gun.
All righty.
Supervisor Scrivener just made a big mistake, so. Public presentations, item 2. I'm sorry, I flipped 2 pages instead of 1. This portion of the meeting is reserved for persons to address the public, the board, on any matter not on the agenda but under the jurisdiction of the board. Board members may respond briefly to statements made or questions posed. They may ask a question for clarification, make a referral to staff for factual information, or request back to staff to report to the board at a later meeting. Also, the board may take action to direct the staff to place a matter of business on a future agenda. Speakers are limited to 2 minutes. Anybody for public presentations? Seeing none. Board member announcements. Seeing none. Item number 8.
Chairman Gleason, members of the board, this is a determination of public convenience for issuance of an off-sale beer and wine package store type 20 liquor license, Ali Al-Najjar. This case was originally scheduled to be considered by your board on May 17, 2016. However, at that hearing, the applicant's representative requested a continuance in order to allow the applicant time. If we could have the overhead so that we can see the location. To allow the applicant time to seek legal counsel. This, as you know, is a request to consider making a determination of public convenience with regard to the issuance of this off-sale beer and wine type 20 liquor license at 12816 Main Street in Lamont. This site was previously the Old Joe's Mini Mart. It has not been in the operation for approximately 18 months. We did provide to your board last time, and we have provided to the applicant's counsel, the information from ABC that there is a moratorium on these types of licenses countywide because of overconcentration countywide. This is a moratorium based on the fact that it's supposed to be limited to one of these licenses for each 2,500 individuals. The entire county has already exceeded this. Therefore, your board would be making a determination on this type of license regardless of its location. Staff notes that the staff report does include aerial photographs and other attachments that do show that this is adjacent to a residential neighborhood. It's within 250 feet. There are 3 existing licenses within 500 feet of the project site. The operations for the 7 days mini mart that's being proposed would be Monday through Sunday from 5 a.m. to 11 at night. They propose to have between 2 to 3 full-time employees. They propose to sell tobacco products, snack foods, candy, fountain drinks, dairy products, and minimal grocery items, as well as if they obtain this transfer, beer and wine for which does allow minors, but it has to be consumed off the premises. As noted, we provided you the sheriff's report, and staff is recommending denial. We believe that this is an overconcentration of licenses. It's within 500 feet of 2 currently operating licenses. It's within 250 feet of a residential neighborhood. There's a potential for an increased concentration of activity that could be detrimental to the public, aggravated by the access to alcohol. Therefore, we recommend that you adopt the resolution, the recommended findings, and deny the liquor license as requested.
Thank you, so yeah. Open up for public for a comment and review. Anybody for the comment, please state your name and speak your piece.
Gabriel Godinez on behalf of the applicant. Chairman Gleason, board members, thank you for this time. Should be more of an approach of a historical background, to give you some background on what's going on with this particular location. It's been empty approximately 18 months. However, for the previous 40 years, it has operated as a convenience store with the same license. My client had looked to purchase the building, operated it for a couple months, but there was a breach of contract within the purchase agreement which held everything up. And within that time frame, the Board of Equalization came in, seized the license, and it ultimately was revoked. So there was no way for him to transfer the license in his name. This particular area, the concerns in the staff report regarding incidents and the sheriff's report for the last, I think, approximately 2 years, it's not quite clear. The building is empty. and it's on a busy, well, it's not a really busy area. I grew up in Arvin, so I've driven by this place 1,000 times. But the concerns in the sheriff's report are that those can be will be alleviated once it's operating, once the convenience store is running. However, my client, with the sizable investment that he has, before he's looking at the next stage or phase of his investment, this is a critical component because this is what the lure was. This was part of the original deal. Nothing has changed. This license was in existence at this location before for approximately 40 years. We had a gap in time working out the purchase, and that's how the transfer was not effectuated. So now, this particular license, the hours of operation, one thing we need to clear up, they will be from 5 to 10, not 5 to 11. And we have that confirmed. My client is looking to fence the back area to address some of the concerns that are in the staff report regarding people being around and trash. Him having and putting in this sizable investment will address a lot of those issues. There will be security, there will be cameras, the area will be well lit. So we're looking at an individual cleaning up this location as well in that busy corner. I don't know how many of you have been out there. There's a Lamina right next to it. So yes, they have beer there as well, but that's a restaurant. You have the Wee Patch Grocery Market. Their hours of operation, I believe, are from 8:30 to 9. And then the Ranchito Market, which is the other license, their hours of operation are from 12 noon to 8 p.m. None of those locations serve gas either. This would be the only location where it has a gas station and convenience store, and they kind of go together. So that's where the request here is. We're not asking for anything out of the ordinary. There's been no objection. In the staff report, information was sent to local businesses and residents and to the Sheriff's Department, in which we received no objections. Not from any of the other businesses that hold a similar license, none from the residents. So that, we need to look at that as well. And the problems with the area are not a result of the operation of the business, because it's been vacant for so long. So we're looking at a sizable investment here, another phase to go through. It's been vacant for approximately 18 months. And we're looking at a use at a property which already had the license. So I mean, it really kind of makes sense. If there was something else, if there was an additional something, a sheriff says, no, it's just going way too crazy over there, then that would really kind of throw off the argument. But nothing has changed. We're looking to improve the area. And there's no other location with the gas station as well. And it is for a convenience. We are looking to limit, we're not going till 11 o'clock. We are looking to clean up the area. We are looking to have convenience, gas, fill up, get your chips, grab a 6-pack or what have you, and then you leave, get your ice and go. So, and then with my client, looking to really be in line and try to bring up the business, painting, a sizable investment, here to put a new roof on the place. So with that, we ask that you do not go with staff's recommendation. We ask and request that it makes sense. There is no real reason. I know the moratorium was in place, but for the litigation and the Board of Equalization seizing the previous license from the other owner, there would have been no problem here. And that's really what we're looking at. So we're requesting that you approve the issuance of the Type 20 license for the off-sale for my client. And if you have any questions, we'd be happy to answer those.
Thank you, sir. If you grab a seat, we may have some questions for you. Anyone else in the public like to make a comment? We'll close the public hearing and bring it back to the board for your thoughts. Ms. Perez.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman. Ms. Sylvia, would you care to respond to Attorney Godinez's presentation? He certainly made some compelling arguments. I'd like to hear your position.
Supervisor Perez, through the chair, there is no land use issue, so he is free to operate a gas station. He's free to operate his mini mart, and with all the things that are in the list. We don't regulate hours, so the hours are not something that we would regulate. He could be open till midnight, 1 in the morning, open at 5 in the morning. The only issue before your board is this alcohol license. There is a reason that the state of California has provided your board the right to look at overconcentrations of these types of licenses. And as you note, the type 20 license, which is beer and wine, is the most prevalent in Kern County. Therefore, staff continues to believe, although it's true that the sheriff, we are not saying that those are specifically from this business, although they could be since they span the last 3 to 4 years and the operation was operating, but that this area has some concentration of issues that the sheriff has had to respond to. We certainly support the gas station, the mini mart, we support all of those activities, but we do believe that there is an overconcentration, and its proximity to a residential area makes it even more problematic.
Thank you, Director Oviatt. That's very helpful. You know, we have a number of these issues come before the board on an annual basis, and it is always from an excellent business owner who is responsible and is wanting to expand their business practices, and these are always so tough because we want to support business, and we are a pro-business board, which has been our position as long as I can recall. These licenses in particular are problematic for a number of reasons, in particular when they're located in areas that we know already have an overconcentration and that we know are close to residential, close to children. I know this site very well as it is in my district, and I know it is a common area where children congregate and walk to and from school, use that area as a crossing place, and it is very close to my office in Lamont. And so I'm familiar with this area, and I am familiar with the business, and I have every hope that the business would thrive and continue to succeed. But we have been very consistent from this board that when it comes to liquor licenses in places where we have a concentration in place, we've been very consistent that we do not want to expand access to liquor as it is currently today. So because of that, I think it is important that we remain consistent in the application of land use policy and access to beer and wine and alcohol in places when we already know there is such great access to it. So it's my apologies that we move forward in this direction, because I know it can create some complications with your business model, but certainly we hope and wish to see you thrive, but certainly doing so with an access to a liquor license does not appear appropriate at this particular location. So I wish you the best, sir, and my motion will be to deny the request.
Second.
Please cast your votes.
The motion is approved. All ayes.
Next up, item number 24 on the County Administrative Office, proposed resolution approving documents and issuance of the fiscal year 2016-17 tax revenue anticipation notes TRAN in an amount not to exceed $250 million. I see Ms. Lawson and Ms. Elsa Martinez getting ready to go. Which one of you want to kick us off? Nancy, over to you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. The proposed resolution authorizes the issuance of tax and revenue anticipation notes for fiscal year 2016-17. We typically refer to them as TRAN, and they are a short-term obligation with a term of 12 to 13 months. We issue the TRAN to provide funds to meet projected short-term cash flow deficits that occur during the fiscal year. The county also uses constitutional borrowing in accordance with Article 16. Your board approved this type of borrowing this morning, authorizing the auditor controller to temporarily transfer $343 million from the Treasury pool as needed to meet cash flow needs until property tax payments are received in December. The temporary transfers are a routine process for taxing jurisdictions to meet operational needs. Elsa Martinez, I would like to introduce, who will be further discussing the TRAN for fiscal year 2016-17, and we would be happy to answer any questions after she is completed.
Ms. Martinez?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. As Ms. Lawson indicated, the primary benefit of the trend is to provide needed cash flow during the period of cash shortfalls. As is typical with all counties, Kern County tends to experience the greatest cumulative cash flow deficit just prior to the property tax due date in December of each fiscal year. In preparation of the issuance, the county's financing team, comprised of representatives from the Treasurer Tax Collector's Office, the Auditor Controller's Office, County Council, and the County Administrative Office, worked with our financial advisor and bond counsel to complete the necessary financing documents. Included in your packet is the authorizing financing resolution with the preliminary official statements, the official notice inviting bids, and the form of the note. These documents describe the terms, conditions, and covenants governing the issuance of the repayment of the notes. The documents authorize the trend issuance in an amount not to exceed $250 million. Based on the projected cash flow, it is anticipated that the county will issue a par amount of $160 million. The resolution also provides the flexibility to sell the trend on a competitive basis or a negotiated basis. Due to the current market conditions, the county team will be evaluating and determining the most beneficial method of sale. At this time, we're recommending that your board adopt the resolution authorizing the trend issuance and authorize the chairman or any member of the board in absence of the chairman to sign all necessary documents related to the issuance. This concludes my comments, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Martinez. I'll open up the public for comment. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing, bring it back to the board.
Move approval of staff's recommendation.
Second.
Cast your votes.
The motion is approved, all ayes.
Thank you. Brings us to item number 30, continuation of local emergency due to drought conditions. Mr. Fox.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman.
Good afternoon.
And members of the board and other locals. I'll be giving you some more into that. I'm looking, this is probably the 30th time I've seen this. I see it every month, and I don't know what it really accomplishes that much. What I'm getting at is declaring it a drought doesn't do it, and is it a drought or is it the new norm? I'm getting at perhaps start thinking about a little contingency planning, as this may not be going away that fast. One thing is I see it's going to happen is you've had problems with before is local water purveyor, like Cal Water, as the infrastructure costs are still there. But the income, as people quit using so much water, they're not getting the money to pay for that, so they have to jack the price up. And then when the price goes up, the people are using, well, I'm not going to use so much water, which brings it up again. And that's something we didn't plan on before locally, and that was conservation pricing, in that the more you use, the higher the rate goes. And it's been a standard with the entire state, and it has not been done here. Okay, and something about getting water from Northern California is not happening that much anymore. So therefore, we'll start pumping the water locally. And that definitely is not going to help if it's going to all the same water coming from the north is just parked here and then sent south. And then the pumped water is also sent south. That doesn't encourage anybody to save water. So it's the pumping. One thing I'm kind of impressed with, and that's an agricultural county. I have decided there's two kinds of agriculture. One farms the soil and stuff, and the other farms taxpayers. And the ones in Merced, they generally farm soil and stuff. And they have banned water mining for export, for sale. It's maybe something we want to think about here, more or less. I'll send you some more stuff on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fox. Anybody else? Okay, appreciate that, Mr. Fox. Let me answer some of your questions, or let me give you some perspective on what I think about what you're saying. I think your observations are astute. I think you're spot on in many instances, and the state has issued a new law called the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act that's going to force us to behave more responsibly in terms of managing our groundwater and our aquifer, and I think you're going to find a whole bunch more information about that in the ensuing months because it's happening as we speak. So I think your concerns will be alleviated. The solutions aren't going to be readily apparent, but we're going to be addressing that problem in a significant way in the very near future. Thank you for your consideration. Anybody else want to talk about that? Okay, so we've already had a motion on 30, correct? So we don't need another motion. We need a motion on number 30. Okay, so I'm looking for a motion on item number 30.
Move approval.
Second.
Please cast your votes.
Motion is approved, all ayes.
That takes us to adjourn to Tuesday, June 7th, 2016 at 9 a.m.